problem with global products, you can get around having that less expensive material in upper spec models. So for example, this insert here in an upper spec version could be let's say carbon fibre to go from one extremity to another. So you can still have inserts to be replaced, and it's only these common materials here that you need to really pay attention to. But the same thing can be said for the key that goes with this vehicle. Now the plastic on it is quite cheap, and because it's wide and flat, there's a few leverage points on it, so you can twist it like that and you can hear it creak already. And this is a very new vehicle. It's only 1,200, actually it's 2,000 kilometres old now that I've put 700 kilometres on it. But the actual key itself, the plastic is quite cheap. And I remember a friend of mine telling me about car keys, and they were having a lot of warranty issues with car key remotes failing, and that's because kids were getting them and sucking on them like a dummy, because when kids are teething, they'll stick anything in their mouth, like little specks of dirt you thought you swept up, dead spiders, car keys, etc, etc. The biscuit you're about to eat, expensive sunglasses that cost you $200. So kids stick things in their mouth all the time when they're teething, and I would be pretty surprised if they didn't start having particular problems with these key fobs as well, because they look very susceptible to baby slobber in my opinion. But they need to be able to have a key fob that can be used in different markets. And personally, considering the purchase prices that are being paid in Australia, I think they can spend a little bit of extra money to get a better quality key fob for our market. For the developing markets, you know, maybe they just need a redesign. I was reading an article the other day on Detroit News on the Auto Insider about how there was bad blood between Delphi Automotive and General Motors. Now, Delphi are the suppliers of the ignition barrels, which have been failing and causing car fires in the US and resulted in 5 million recalls of older style vehicles. Now, the bad blood between Delphi and GM has been, I guess, superimposed across the failure of Delphi to provide barrels or ignition barrels that are of a certain level of quality. Now, I don't know if they failed any particular specification, because that would be a big no-no, and obviously that would be significant liability against Delphi. However, the point is, cost pressures were applied by GM against Delphi, basically saying to their supplier, and according to the article, there was a bunch of suppliers, they take in individual rooms separately and say, all right, we want to buy, let's say, 100,000 ignition barrel blocks. And they'd ask each individual supplier what is the best price that they can do. And then they would use that best price to pressure the other suppliers to try and meet that same price. Now, when it comes to manufacturing something like a key fob, the design specification may have said something like needs to work from 15 meters away, needs to be able to be detected within the cabin, but also be discreet from how it's detected outside the cabin, so that you can't get the car started while you're standing outside. Things like that. There would be a whole bunch of technical specifications for this particular key fob, and they would have said to a supplier, make us this key fob. So if you were a supplier, would you say, okay, I'm going to meet these specifications, plus I'm also going to make it baby slobber proof? Now let's have a think about just how much additional engineering would have to go into making this particular piece of equipment baby slobber proof. Obviously you need to understand the IP rating which is necessary to repel baby slobber, and you also need to be able to identify materials that can withstand teething. Okay, I'm getting a bit silly there, but you get the general idea. The suppliers would only design and supply something in accordance to the specification because the pricing pressures say we need to get it for this low price. And you don't want to spend any additional engineering that's going to raise your supply price above the competition. So I guess who's to blame for these dodgy key fobs? Is there a particular specification that it doesn't meet? It may be baby slobber proof for all I know. I really don't know because my kids are past teething and I haven't given it to them to suck on. So, but there's no feeling of solidity to it. So it doesn't have that quality feel. So it feels low quality. It feels cheap. You can tell it's cheap and they need to fix it.